Lewis Hamilton has dropped a bombshell on Mercedes after claiming that he apparently got a good feeling while driving the Ferrari F1 cars, praising the behaviour of the cars, including the SF23 and SF24, whilst pointing out they're much better than the Mercedes was, according to the rumours. Hamilton's immersion plan with his new team has dominated headlines, with the Briton laying down laps in an SF23 before driving a modified SF24 in a Pirelli tyre test. Strangely enough, Hamilton instantly found himself better than in the Mercedes. The Briton's pre-season has been so intense that he has already used all 4 days allotted to a current driver over the course of a year to do a testing of previous car TPC program. During those 4 days, he drove Ferrari's SF23, a car that demonstrated potential on a single lap but struggled with unanticipated aerodynamic challenges, resulting in a tyre eater. It was a critical issue that impeded the team's performance and perplexed the engineers as they attempted to address it. Upgrades in the latter half of the season gave Ferrari optimism heading into the 2024 season, with Fred Vasseur stating the overall improvement in tyre wear with the SF24 on another planet compared to last year. However, Hamilton, who in recent years had to struggle with a Mercedes F1 car that lacked downforce and rear grip, was apparently pleased with the feel of the Ferrari F1. According to reports, the 7-time world champion had positive sensations and was praising the behaviour of the vehicles, including the SF23. According to those reports, there are those who claim that Hamilton immediately found himself better than in the Mercedes driven in recent seasons. It had been reported after the Briton's Fiorano run that he was already trying things in the SF23 and was not content to just go around the track. Vicky Piria, an Italian racing driver, witnessed the run trackside and reported, "Even though it was really damp, wet, and really cold, we saw Lewis try different stuff. We saw him work a bit with the E-diff. We saw him work with the brake balance, saw some locking. He wasn't just going around and doing installation laps. He was actually trying things. Not pushing, but trying things. That's him getting into the momentum, understanding things, the settings on the steering wheel and how they work. They learn everything on the sim, but then actually transferring the feelings onto the real track. So it's really forward motion for him because it's not long before Australia." Hamilton and his new teammate Charles Leclerc will reveal Ferrari's new livery at the O2 Arena spectacle, before the SF25 car is formally launched the next day at the team's test track. As is customary, both drivers are expected to receive an early taste of the SF25 in a brief shakedown before an official F1 pre-season test in Bahrain on February 26 to 28. So, following the tests with the old single-seaters, where the times were comparable to those of Leclerc, the next step is missing: driving the Ferrari SF25. It will take place on February 19th, the day of the presentation at Fiorano. Lewis Hamilton's journey to his World Championship debut with Ferrari continues rapidly. One stride at a time, the English champion is entering the new red dimension and feeling more comfortable. The team has done all necessary to set him up for success. After the initial laps on his home circuit of Fiorano, there were private tests at Montmello, followed by tests on the same track with the 2026 Pirelli tyres, which completed last Wednesday. An intensive plan that allowed Lewis to prepare in preparation for Melbourne, becoming acquainted with engineers, mechanics, and working procedures that differed from those he had encountered during his 12 years at Mercedes. The 7-time world champion is already in terrific shape, based by time comparisons with teammate Charles Leclerc, and is ready to race in Australia. Team principal Frederic Vasseur foresaw everything, even Hamilton's approach plan. "It will be a challenge," he said in December, "because after his arrival, we will only have 6 weeks to prepare, before the official tests in Bahrain, and in between there will also be the presentation of the F1 teams in London on February 18th, and that of our car on February 19th in Maranello. But Lewis is a champion and has a lot of experience, so I am not worried." So far, the stages have been followed to perfection. The prancing horse drivers have been running constantly since January 20th. Hamilton has had no issues other for a crash exiting the last turn of Montmeló, which disrupted a day of testing. The most intriguing part of the tests was that Lewis was able to drive the Ferrari SF23 from 2 years ago and the SF24 from last season, although modified to accommodate the prototype tyres. In both occasions, he felt good, praising the behaviour of the cars. Even the SF23, regarded as a difficult single-seater. Some argue that Hamilton quickly outperformed the Mercedes he had driven in previous seasons. The final stage is missing, driving the Ferrari SF25. It will take place on the day of the presentation with a shakedown in Fiorano before travelling to Bahrain on February 26th to 28th. Lewis will have a greater understanding of the latest generation Ferrari F1 cars as a result of his 6-week full immersion evaluation of all development. He will learn the remainder by driving in the simulator with Leclerc. He and the Monegasque have already begun work on the virtual model of the 2025 car, which will continue until the eve of departure for Australia, where the World Championship will begin on March 16th. The extremely complex Denisma simulator, on which Ferrari has been counting for several seasons, will be used to best prepare the SF25 setup and aerodynamic configuration for the Albert Park circuit. No one at Ferrari doubts that Hamilton will be extremely competitive at the event. Vasseur is encouraged by the progress made in the first few weeks of his apprenticeship with the Red Team, and Lewis's recent social media post, "I can't wait for the first race." Srania Ferrari's major strategy will be to provide Lewis and Charles with a fast and simple car. This could be a key aspect in seeing Hamilton at his best in qualifying, when he struggled in 2024 and lost to George Russell. The prancing horse finished last season on a high note, battling McLaren for the Constructors' title until the final race, so the conditions appear to be right for the Red Team's golden duo to compete for the World Championship. Sebastian Vettel needed only 2 races to win the 2015 Malaysian Grand Prix for Ferrari. How many will Hamilton need? According to Juan Pablo Montoya, a former Williams and McLaren driver, Lewis Hamilton will need time to adjust to Ferrari, but once he does, and the chassis is up to par, he is going to win everything. So it might not be a win in his first 2 races, but once he's up to speed, he should be able to aim for the title. The 7-time world champion's transfer to Ferrari has sparked widespread speculation, despite the fact that he has spent 12 seasons and 6 of his 7 titles with Mercedes. He made the transfer after long wanting to race for Ferrari, and this will be the first time in his Formula 1 career he has driven without Mercedes power. Hamilton will face Charles Leclerc, a younger but still experienced Ferrari driver, and 7-time Grand Prix winner Montoya predicted that the Briton will need time to adjust comfortably at Maranello. Once he does, he feels Hamilton will be able to outperform his teammate, and maybe the rest of the field. Lewis is mature enough to appreciate that in the short term he is going to struggle a little bit, learning the Ferrari thing, Montoya said. Charles is going to feel like he's got the upper hand, but give it about 6 or 7 races, and if the car is competitive, Lewis is going to win everything. After 2 TPC, testing of a previous car sessions with Ferrari and tyre testing with Pirelli, Hamilton expressed on social media that he is feeling right at home with the Scuderia. His next on-track appearance will be with Leclerc when Ferrari tests their 2025 rival, the SF25, for the first time behind closed doors at Ferrari's in-house test track, Fiorano, following the official car unveiling. What do you think? Is the Ferrari a better car than the Mercedes? And will Hamilton be able to win it all this year? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.